Kybell's journey from Wolverhampton Street gang member to convicted drug trafficker reached its culmination in a North Wales courtroom in September 2025. On the morning of September 11, 2025, the 24-year-old Bell stood in the dock at Mould Crown Court, awaiting his fate. He had already admitted to running a county lines drug operation that funneled heroin and crack cocaine from the English Midlands into the towns of North Wales. Now, as the judge delivered the sentence, a prison term of just over 4 years, Bell showed little reaction. It was the end of the road for a criminal enterprise that had plagued the communities of Denbighshire for months, bringing Bell's latest clash with the law to a definitive close. Bell was a prominent figure in a Wolverhampton-based gang, a young man deeply entrenched in violent street life long before he turned his hand to drug dealing. To West Midlands police, he was well known. Back in 2019, at the age of 19, Bell had been arrested in Wolverhampton after officers intercepted a car he was riding in. In the footwell at Bell's feet lay a Gurkha machete nearly a foot long. A balaclava was pulled over his head, ready to conceal his identity. Police believed they had stopped Bell on his way to carry out a brutal attack. That incident led to Bell's first taste of prison, an 18-month sentence for possessing the bladed weapon, and a stern warning from authorities. According to police, Bell was already a prominent gang member in Wolverhampton at that time, known by the street alias Mullah. He had prior convictions for carrying a samurai sword, and he even appeared in gritty drill music videos, where he brandished weapons and issued thinly veiled threats to rival gangsters. After the machete arrest, a judge imposed a 5-year criminal behavior order on Bell, barring him from meeting with certain fellow gang members, from possessing more than one mobile phone, and from inciting violence on social media. These measures were meant to curb his gang activities and steer him away from further crime. Yet if anything, those sanctions only paused Bell's criminal ambitions. By the mid-2020s, he had shifted tactics and found a new illicit enterprise: narcotics. Bell became the mastermind of what police identified as a county lines drug network extending from Wolverhampton into North Wales. County lines is the term British authorities use for drug trafficking operations, where urban gangs extend their reach into smaller towns or rural areas, using dedicated mobile phone lines to market and distribute drugs. Dealers from big cities exploit these lines to tap into new markets, often using intimidation and exploiting vulnerable people to do their bidding. The rewards can be lucrative, but the results are devastating for the communities caught in the middle. Bell's scheme was dubbed the Meech line, a dedicated phone line he and his associates used to peddle Class A drugs across regional borders. The network spanned from the West Midlands, Bell's home turf, into North Wales, effectively connecting 2 separate drug markets under his control. From at least April 2025, the Meech line was actively flooding the seaside county of Denbighshire with heroin and crack cocaine. Bell orchestrated the operation from his home base in Wolverhampton. With a stash of drugs at the ready, he would send out mass text messages to dozens of known drug users in the Rhyl area and other nearby towns, advertising that fresh supplies of grub, code for drugs, were available for purchase. These blitzes of text alerts typically went out in bulk, like marketing blasts from a business. And in a sense, Bell saw it as exactly that, a business. Once orders came in from eager buyers, Bell himself would set off from the Midlands, driving roughly 90 miles west to personally deliver the illicit products to his customers on the streets of North Wales. This door-to-door delivery model earned Bell an infamous nickname among local addicts. They began referring to the Meech line as Meals on Wheels, a darkly ironic moniker likening Bell's drug delivery to a food takeaway service. Far from being offended, Bell embraced the comparison. In text exchanges with his clientele, he boasted that he was running a fast food-style service for narcotics, implying he could get them their fix as promptly as a pizza delivery. The audacity of this marketing underscored how embedded the drug line had become in the area over the spring and early summer of 2025. For a time, the Meech line's business was brisk. Each trip Bell made into North Wales pumped more dangerous drugs into the community, feeding the habits of addicted users and profiting an organized crime group at the expense of public safety. But Bell's activities did not go unnoticed by law enforcement. Amid growing concern about outside gangs operating in Denbighshire, North Wales Police quietly opened an investigation into the Meech line. A specialist unit, the force's Central Priority Crime Team, was tasked with dismantling the new supply chain that was bringing misery to their towns. Starting in early summer 2025, North Wales detectives began painstakingly gathering intelligence on Bell's operation. They traced the mobile number that was sending out the mass texts and linked it to Bell's identity. Undercover surveillance watched for his arrivals in Rhyl and tracked his movements. Plainclothes officers mingled among local users, noting when the Meals on Wheels messages hit their phones. Over approximately 6 weeks, investigators built their case piece by piece. By documenting drug transactions and intercepting communications, they amassed clear evidence tying Bell to the supply of heroin and crack cocaine in North Wales between April 23 and July 31, 2025. Once enough proof had been assembled, North Wales Police, in coordination with colleagues in the West Midlands, moved to strike. In the pre-dawn darkness of July 30, 2025, a convoy of police vehicles descended upon a residential address in Wolverhampton, Bell's home. Officers in tactical gear forced entry in a swift raid, catching the suspect by surprise. Bell was seized and handcuffed before he had a chance to react. The ensuing search of the property yielded exactly what detectives anticipated. Tucked away inside the house was the mobile handset used to run the Meech line, the dedicated phone containing contacts of local drug users and records of the bulk text messages. Alongside it were physical quantities of narcotics packaged for sale, a total of 221 wraps of crack cocaine and heroin ready to be sold on the street. Police also uncovered several bladed weapons stashed in the home, a stark reminder of Bell's willingness to resort to violence. In addition, more than $2,000 in cash was recovered, suspected drug money from his recent deals. The sheer number of individual drug wraps spoke to the volume of Bell's trade. Each wrap represented an illicit deal that could have taken place on the streets. The haul suggested Bell had been poised to put countless more hits of heroin and crack into circulation in the coming days had he not been stopped. The evidence was overwhelming. On the spot, Bell was arrested on suspicion of drug supply offenses and taken into custody. By that same afternoon, he had been formally charged and remanded to await court proceedings, ensuring he would remain behind bars as the case progressed. When Bell was eventually brought back to North Wales to face justice, the outcome was virtually inevitable. Confronted with the mountain of evidence gathered against him, the phone, the drugs, the messages linking him directly to trafficking, Bell chose to plead guilty rather than contest the case. He admitted his role in supplying Class A drugs as the proprietor of the Meech line. His guilty plea came at an earlier hearing, sparing the need for a trial and expediting the court process. It also earned him a measure of leniency at sentencing. On September 11, 2025, Bell appeared in Mould Crown Court to learn his punishment. The prosecution outlined how this Wolverhampton gang member had extended his criminal enterprise into North Wales, bringing hard drugs into vulnerable communities. In weighing the sentence, the judge took note of Bell's early guilty plea. What could have been a 6.5-year prison term was reduced as a result. Instead, the judge imposed a sentence of 4 years and 4 months imprisonment. Still a hefty punishment for a 24-year-old, but one that reflected some credit for admitting the crime. Bell showed little visible emotion as he was led down to begin his prison term, the culmination of a cross-border drug operation that had now collapsed around him. For the officers who worked the case, Bell's sentencing was a significant victory. Speaking after the court hearing, Detective Constable Chris Wynne of North Wales Police, one of the lead investigators, underscored the importance of taking down dealers like Bell. "We relentlessly pursue those who cause daily harm to our communities," Wynne said, referring to the drug peddlers whose activities devastate local neighborhoods. He vowed that the police would continue to make North Wales a hostile environment for anyone looking to exploit the region by supplying illegal drugs. This case, in Wynne's view, also highlighted the power of collaboration. Bell might have thought that operating from another police jurisdiction would shield him, but the joint effort between North Wales Police and West Midlands Police ensured there was nowhere safe for him to hide. Working across borders, they had effectively dismantled the Meech line and put its mastermind behind bars. Wynne praised the teamwork and also credited the community for helping alert authorities to suspicious activity. He noted that North Wales police respond robustly to intelligence from the public, and he encouraged anyone with information about drug dealing to come forward. In the fight against drug networks, tips from local residents can often break a case wide open. And in this instance, that vigilance played a role in bringing Bell's operation to an end. Kybell's saga is just one story amid a much larger struggle against county lines drug networks engulfing the United Kingdom. In recent years, these types of operations, where city gangs push drugs into smaller locales via mobile phone lines, have become a nationwide scourge. The government and law enforcement agencies have made it a top priority to identify and shut down county lines wherever they emerge. Police leaders stress that the stakes are high. Such networks routinely bring violence, exploitation, and misery. Gangs have been known to carry weapons ranging from knives to firearms to enforce their turf, and they often groom children or coerce vulnerable adults into acting as couriers and dealers. As Policing Minister Chris Philp put it, county lines gangs inflict harrowing damage and misery on communities, using intimidation and brutality to further their trade. The human cost is immense: lives lost to drug overdoses, neighborhoods blighted by crime, and young people trapped in a cycle of abuse and criminality. To combat this, law enforcement has ramped up efforts on all fronts. Under a national strategy, major crackdowns have targeted line holders and their networks. In one intensive week-long operation in March 2024, police forces across the country jointly arrested nearly 1,900 suspects and shut down 245 different county drug lines. Raids during that week seized hundreds of weapons, including dozens of firearms and scores of knives, along with huge quantities of heroin, crack cocaine, and other illicit substances destined for provincial towns. Just as critically, officers rescued and safeguarded over 1,600 people who had been exploited or caught up in these operations, more than half of them children. And the push continues. Authorities have set ambitious targets to intensify the pressure, including plans to eliminate another 1,000 drug lines within the next few years. Backed by record funding and closer coordination between regional police forces, the National Crime Agency, and community outreach programs, North Wales, despite its tranquil landscapes and tight-knit communities, has not been immune to the reach of county lines gangs. Law enforcement in the region has been grappling with an influx of drug networks emanating from larger cities. Indeed, national crime data shows that the majority of county lines are run out of a few major metropolitan areas, notably London, the West Midlands, where Wolverhampton is located, Merseyside, and Greater Manchester. Regions like North Wales often find themselves on the receiving end of drug pipelines controlled by criminals based in those urban centres. Many of the lines that penetrate North Wales originate in cities such as Liverpool, Birmingham, or Wolverhampton, drawn by the demand and the perception of less competition in smaller communities. The result has been a series of police operations and arrests in towns across North Wales to combat these interlopers. From Wrexham to Rhyl, officers have worked in tandem with metropolitan police units and even transport police to monitor routes and intercept couriers. During the national crackdown in 2024, for example, North Wales Police partnered with Merseyside Police and other agencies in a coordinated sweep, leading to the arrest of 26 suspects in the North Wales area and the seizure of drugs, cash, and weapons. The fight is ongoing, but each success, each line dismantled, is treated as a step toward reclaiming the safety of local communities. Bell's case, in particular, stands as a stark example of how determined law enforcement can bring a criminal enterprise to heel. A gang member from Wolverhampton might have thought a quiet Welsh coastal county would be an easy target for his scheme. Instead, he found that no area is beyond the reach of modern policing. The swift collapse of the Meech line sends a message to other would-be county line operators. Even if they cross borders, the law can catch up with them. It also delivers a measure of reassurance to the public. The residents of Denbighshire who watched an ominous Meals on Wheels drug service take hold in their community can breathe a little easier now that its organizer is behind bars. Still, the conclusion of this case is not a moment for complacency. As long as demand for Class A drugs persists in communities, there will be others looking to exploit it. the fall of one line may create opportunities for another, a reality that police acknowledge. The wider social problems driving addiction and gang involvement remain complex and deep-rooted. But for now, the jailing of Kybell is a hard-won success. It has cut off a pipeline of heroin and crack cocaine to North Wales, at least for the time being, and removed a violent gang-affiliated dealer from the streets. It stands as testament to what focused, collaborative policing can achieve. And as a formal note of closure, it marks the moment when a Wolverhampton gang member's bold ambition to expand his criminal empire met the unforgiving force of the law. Bell's rise and fall encapsulates the grim reality of the county lines era, a stark example of how organized criminals seek out new markets and how dedicated police work can bring them down in the end. His story stands as a cautionary tale, but also as a sign that the fight back against county lines crime is making headway.